Developing right now in Lake County, Florida Highway Patrol says this video is at the center of their investigation into a deadly crash over the weekend. Troopers claim 4 women were drinking while speeding. 3 of them died. Another is in the hospital tonight in critical condition. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth is live at the hospital in Orlando. And Randy, you spoke to the sole survivor's mother. What did she say?
Yeah, good evening to you, Luann. Spoke with her late this afternoon, and she described her daughter as a fighter, and she is certainly fighting for her life right now. As you mentioned, we have video that has been confirmed by FHP that they are using as part of this investigation. I want to warn viewers that some of this video may not be appropriate for younger viewers. As FHP says, one of the women that you will see in this video is one of the women who was killed. Speeds appearing to top 100 miles per hour, and alcohol passed around the vehicle. Florida Highway Patrol says this video is now part of their investigation into this weekend's deadly crash in Lake County.
In that vehicle, if the video ends up being exactly what our investigators are able to prove, there was a lot of distraction in that car for the driver and for the other passengers.
State troopers say the crash happened early Sunday morning along State Road 19, just south of State Florian Lane. Investigators say the driver failed to negotiate a curve, ran off the road, hit a pole, and flipped several times. They say no one was wearing a seatbelt and everyone was thrown from the Jeep. 3 people were killed: Kenesha Lewis, Octavia Pugh, and Shakayla Mathis. A 4th passenger, Mariah Belcher, is in the hospital.
My child is here, but it's 3 kids that lost their lives behind this. And I want their family to go through their grieving and not have to worry about my baby.
Mariah's mom says her daughter is still in critical condition but stable. She has a traumatic brain injury, fractured vertebrae in her neck, and suffered a spleen injury.
My whole ride from Alabama, all I can say is my child should live and not die. And she's fighting.
Marcia Knight says her daughter and her friends may have been leaving a party when they allegedly made the post on social media and crashed. She says it's hard watching that video and knowing a night of fun with friends ended like this.
The accountability on my half goes towards my daughter. Because if you knew this person had been drinking, you knew you guys were drinking before, there, after, why? You know what I'm saying? You know better.
FHP says they're still waiting on toxicology reports in this investigation. They also have to compare data from the vehicle to how fast the vehicle was recorded in that video. Investigators are also reminding you to wear your seatbelt. And in a GoFundMe created for Kenesha Lewis, she is described as a mom of 5, and she is remembered as a sweet and loving woman. There was another GoFundMe created for the victim, Octavia Pugh, by her family, and they say they are heartbroken by this. And the entire community is heartbroken. The mayor of Eustis posted on Facebook today that there will be a prayer vigil this weekend on Sunday at 5 o'clock at Carver Park to honor all of these women. Reporting tonight, Randy Hildreth, Fox 35 News.
Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, and you know, it's Saturday, so I'm bringing you the Negro news, what's happening in the Black community, the good, the bad, the ugly. And today I have 2 uglies that's going on in the Black community. I would say 2 uglies. Before I get further, remember to like this video, comment, subscribe, share the video, and remember, if you don't like this video, you ain't Black, right? Ways to support is in the description. You can support myself, Patrick Irvin, Professor Carl Tone Jones. All that is in the description. So here in the crazy state of Florida, we have 4 young ladies who were involved in a car crash. Eustis kind of think the central, yes, Orlando area. So that's the Central Florida area. So 4 young ladies involved in a car crash. They were coming from a party, drinking. I'm sure they were drinking at the party, and then they were drinking while they were driving and hitting speeds of a max at, we saw on the dash, at least 116 miles an hour, not wearing seatbelts, coming from a party, drinking while driving. Came up on the curb that didn't agree with what they was going on, what had going on. And they lost control of the car. The driver lost control of the car. The car crashes, flips. All of the young ladies are thrown from the car. And 3 of the 4 young ladies have passed away, including the driver. The driver is one of the 4 who have passed away. One of the passengers is the young lady who you saw her mom talking, and she is now fighting for her life. Wow. I couldn't imagine being a parent in that situation, especially if my child was the driver. But all 4 of those young ladies made horrible decisions, bad decisions, stupid decisions, dumb decisions. They could have hurt so many more other people. Going out passing around a bottle of Patron is dumb. It's not smart. And so, I mean, it's a lot of, I'm not going to say it's a lot of elements, but it's elements to this because toward the end of the video, you see the reporter saying that they're having an event to honor the young women. Honor them for what? What are they being honored for? You honor people for doing good things. And we know, so I'm not saying that they were bad people overall because of this decision, but you are honoring them for their lives as the result of bad decisions that they've made. And I'm not sure that that's the right route to go. I think this should be more of a learning lesson for young Black teens, especially, right? More of a learning lesson. What can we learn from this? How can we take this situation and use it as a deterrent for future Black teens to not go through this? Because in the spirit of having fun, they decided to go 116 while drinking and driving, in the spirit of having fun. And so now we're getting into a deeper discussion about culture, about decision making, about parenting, about raising children, all these different things. Because, a lot of people go say, well, my child wouldn't have done this and my child wouldn't have done that and this and this and that. And I'm sure the mom is being critiqued on her parenting. And some people are probably saying, well, where the daddy at? Like all type of variables and all types of things are said and can be said and will be said and all these different things here, right? So taking all of that and bringing it together, kicking out the stuff you don't need, moving forward, all right? Because one thing we do have to look at is Black American culture. Black American culture is destructive and degenerate right now, right? So now we're talking about how we see ourselves, how we view ourselves, how we love ourselves, because why would those teens put themselves in that situation for the sake of fun? Why is that considered fun or a good time, or something they should do? And they filmed it. They were filming themselves doing something illegal, because it's illegal to have an open bottle in the car, and it's illegal to drink and drive. And they didn't have any seatbelts on, right? So why is this considered fun? We got to think about that for them. And not just for them, but for a lot of Black teens. Speeding, doing illegal stuff is seen as fun. Why? What is it about our culture that is breeding these type of behaviors and helping these type of behaviors continue, even have ground to grow, right? We don't have enough information about the parents. We don't have enough information about the mother. We know the mother of the surviving child. I do like that she said the accountability piece of her daughter shouldn't have been doing it. It was dumb to do. And I do appreciate her saying that, because she's right. It was dumb to do. It wasn't smart to do. It was a life-altering decision for that young lady. They said she had a traumatic brain injury, spinal injuries, all other types of stuff, and she may not be the same again. The 3 other ladies definitely won't be the same because they're not coming back. But if she survives, her life is changed. They said a traumatic brain injury. So that means her life is now altered. Her life has changed. She's not going to be the same person. She's not going to be able to live life the same. She may live life moving forward if she recovers as a disabled person. All because of the sake of fun. Just drive home normally. Just drive home normally. What's wrong with that? Fun doesn't have to be some daredevil, life-threatening stuff, right? That don't have to be what fun is. This is a sad situation. 4 families are grieving because of the decisions that these young ladies made. And see, we got to think about that, right? Bigger picture. Of course, they're not thinking about bigger picture. They're young teenagers. Why would they think about the bigger picture, right? But you have to think about the bigger picture, no matter how old you are. But they're old enough to have the cognitive abilities to think about the bigger picture as far as what's bigger to them, like going to college, graduating high school, or, whatever the next step, getting a job, whatever the next milestone is, right, for you and yourself in your life, right? Holding on to having that and holding on to it. Now, another question is that even present in their psyche, in their minds? Is it even present? Because if it isn't, then that can contribute to bad decision making. This was bad decisions, like getting in the car with a driver who clearly has little regard for her life and little regard for her friend's life and little regard for everybody's life. But it's not just the driver. All of the occupants of the car did not have regard for their lives or the lives of their friends. And I use quotations because friends don't put themselves in that situation and want to allow the other friends to put themselves in that situation. I'm not riding with y'all. I'm finding another way home. I'm gonna try to get the keys from you. I'm gonna do my best to get your keys from you. And we find other ways to get home. They have Uber, they have Lyft, they have taxis, right? There are ways to get to and from, right? If you know you're gonna go to a party and drink, Uber there and Uber back. But they decided to have fun at the expense of their own lives and livelihood and their own health. That's the sad part. So that leads me back to thinking about what Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about, the vacant esteem. The vacant esteem that's pervasive within Black America. We don't value ourselves. We value moments. We value things. We value experiences. We value products. We value other people. But we don't value ourselves. Like we really don't value ourselves. And because we don't value ourselves, the decisions we make are often destructive, are often degenerative, are often just something to make us feel good in the moment. Feeling good in the moment ain't worth your life. We're not going to have a future if we keep operating like this, right? Feeling good in the moment isn't worth it. Unfortunately, these young ladies lost their lives for a feel-good moment, a feel-good joyride home, under the influence, speeding at 116 miles an hour with no seatbelts on. I can't imagine the horror that was going through their minds as the accident is happening. I couldn't imagine it. So that's why it's important for us to change our culture, change the way we exist. Do our best to build our esteem about ourselves, love each other, love ourselves and each other enough to want to make sure and ensure, use the proper actions to ensure that we are safe, to ensure that we're not bringing harm against ourselves or each other, right? To ensure of it, because we're taking the proper actions. Changing of the culture, a changing of how we exist, a changing of how we live, a changing of how we raise our children, the values that we have, the values that we pass down. If values are passed down, the ideas, lifestyles, it has to change. It's not good. It's even to the point to where our children are not safe from the adults around them. Not all children, but too many children are not safe from the adults around them, and they're not safe from their own decisions. So, of course, unity is the key. Unity in building is the key. And that leads us into our second story. Well, we're getting into Tiffany's farm. So Tiffany's farm is a YouTube channel. So I can't remember how I found the video, but I came across this video that we're going to see. It's from another YouTuber's channel. And I'll put the link in the description. So apparently there's a young lady and her father, I believe they're in Georgia, I believe. And they'll tell you in the video. And they brought a farm. And basically the white people in that area don't like them there. And the white people are doing any and everything to run them out of the area, including burning, literally burning their farm. So let's get into it.
Fight. I don't care what you have to say. I have evidence. You nasty person. Just disgusting. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Arrogant, rude. You can call me whatever you want. I know what you are, and everybody in this neighborhood knows what you are.
So this is a video of the
That's
gentleman.
right. Walk to your own property.
That guy was trying to destroy that farm.
Trespasser, criminal. Let me tell you, this is.
So it's starting off. That was the first part of the video, right? So that white guy on the lawnmower was trying to destroy their fence. They have a defined outline property line, and the people in the area, like I say, they want the land. They don't want them there, and they're trying to do everything to destroy everything they have. So even the fences, they're trying to destroy a property line or push back property lines to say that it's there so they can even take part of their property. And so now that's how the video opened up, like I say, with that guy trying to destroy that fence. So now they're going to get into the burning of their farm. And remember, before I go further, remember, if you don't like this video, you ain't black. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's run these likes up. Let's get it.
Our second fire that we're dealing with. So if you can remember, we had a first fire and they had this whole area right here messed up. Everything was burnt to a crisp, and we actually had to take the time, if you recall some of our other videos, and get U-Haul trucks and cut up all the timber that was burned and decaying on the ground to fix everything back up. And now we're dealing with a second fire, and this is how they left our property again for the second time. And we're going to have to go through the same process. It took us a year to actually straighten it out the first time it happened. Now it's going to take us, I don't know how long, to do it the second time around. But this is what they did. This is the fire that they set the second time. Now who's gonna clean?
So as you can hear, the young lady's name is Tiffany, and the YouTube channel is Tiffany's Farm. At Tiffany's Farm is the handle. So like I said, this came to my attention, and I was like, hey, why not use my platform to help them get their message out? Now, I'm scrolling through the YouTube channel now, and that's why my head is down a bit. I'm scrolling through the YouTube channel now to see how long ago. And so the fire video, this video was a month ago, came out on her YouTube channel a month ago. And remember, the YouTube channel is Tiffany's Farm. And so I was like, well, why not help spread some light on what's going on with this young lady? So it's her and her father. And it says, hi, community. I'm a farmer, Tiffany. I started as a backyard farmer on less than half an acre, but now I own a mid-sized farm in Middle Georgia. And so they're in Barnesville, Georgia. So basically, the people in Barnesville don't want them there. And arson is happening. And they are, as you can hear, you heard her say, the second farm, South Georgia. They own the farm. And so we kind of got an idea of what's happening, right? We really have an idea of what's happening going on here. They're trying to run them out. They don't want them there. You're not welcome in our area, right? And so Tiffany and her father is facing a lot of issues.
This up.
Exactly.
Oh, we got some bad news to tell y'all about the burning in the back. It's terrible. When you get a chance to watch the video, you'll see what we're talking about. My daughter tried to get in contact with the forestry people and tell them how bad the situation was, and I had a feeling that they totally ignored her.
So I'm glad he said that, because it reminded me. So they're also dealing with a systematic issue, because they're literally getting no help from the forestry people, police, fire department, like none of the officials, none of the people who's supposed to be regulating this stuff is actually regulating this stuff. They're literally on their own, fighting for their farm while others are trying to destroy their farm. And it's a systematic issue, because the more they report, and that's why they had to make a video, right? Because the more that they report about it, nothing is still happening. Nothing is being done, because it's like nobody can figure out who's doing it, right? So you know how that goes. So that's why we're gonna bring light to this.
You know?
Yeah, they pretty much blew me off. They kind of like, when I said it's not just smoke, but it's flames by my fence. The guy that answered the phone, he just brushed it off. I thought that they would at least try to send somebody out here. Even though my land is vacant, there's a lot of families around here.
So they were reporting a fire in the beginning stages of the fire. They were reporting it so it could come and be put out. And because they were ignored, the fire grew. And as you can see, she's saying it's not just her farm that can be impacted, even though her farm was the target. It's other farms in the area, other people's land in the area, but they reported what was going on. It was ignored, and the fire grew.
I don't technically have structures on my property, but there's a lot of houses that could easily be affected. There's one thing to call the fire department for structure fires, but it was a wildfire in the forest, and their lack of response was very unprofessional and negligent, in my opinion. So not only did I try to call her, I spoke to a supervisor about it, but it was after the fact. I mean, the damage is already done, but I tried to call around too, because, you know, it needs to be investigated for arson.
How many times did you?
I'm just saying. That's why I'm talking about systematic issue, right? Because if you're reporting what's happening to the proper officials, and those proper officials are overlooking and undermining what's going on, well, why would you allow arson to continue in an area if your job is to stop it? The only other conclusion I can come up to is you don't care. And why don't you care? What would be the reason when this young lady and her father calls and reports arson, fires, things that could destroy the land? When they report that, why is nothing happening? Why are they being ignored?
Hold on.
I called them in the past couple of days at least 4 or 5 times. Kept getting all these different numbers. I even called the fire department to make sure I could get a report for the fire. I do have a report number from the sheriff that I'll collect a report from that soon. But I need a fire department's report. And I also contacted the fire department in order for them to investigate it. And they said they would have to submit something on a state level. So when I felt like I got the runaround with that, I called back to the Georgia Forestry Commission to see how I could report on their end. Also, they told me and gave me a number to EPD, Environmental Protection. Call Environmental Protection. They said they don't do any kind of investigation on that level. And so then they gave me the number. Actually, they just basically said they couldn't help. So I went online to look up how to report a possible arson in Georgia and got the telephone number, and it took me right back to the Georgia Forestry Commission. Called them. They gave me the number to OCI. I haven't figured out what OCI is yet. And then they gave me the number to a fire marshal.
So basically, they're not interested in helping her. They're not trying to help her. They're giving her the runaround. Why would you give her the runaround? I mean, there are fires being started in the area. So you mean to tell me the wildlife people, the fire department, everybody who's in charge of making sure that the land, the area, the wildlife, the farms, all of that, the forestry registry, all the people who are in charge of that, in this particular situation, this is one that they choose to not care about. Now, how many other people who look like her have this same story? That's something I need to look into. How many people who look like Tiffany and her father have the same type of issue, especially in that area or throughout Georgia or even throughout the United States, right? How many other people have that issue? There are literal threats to the land. Fires are being set by those who don't want them there. literal threats to the land. So that made me think, well, maybe everybody's in on it and nobody wants them there because nobody's wanting to do anything about it. Why does she have to go through so many hoops to make sure that the land don't get burnt down? Like she really have to go through that much just to make sure the land that she purchased don't get burnt down? Well, how many other people in that area have to deal with that? But if you go through their channel, they also talk about harassment from the so-called neighbors. And I call them so-called neighbors because real neighbors won't do that. But harassment from the other people in the community, in the area. I'm just saying.
I already left a message with everyone. So I'm at the point where, this is kind of ridiculous. I feel like we're not getting the assistance that we need with this issue. Already starting out the gate, like immediately, they're all just kind of like, making us go in all these different directions.
Well, they came on the property. I don't know, you consider that trespassing, in a case of emergency like that, the situation just happened. They made a fire break, and they pulled up a whole lot of trees back there. And I hope they don't think that we're gonna pay for it. It's totally messed up back there.
And you saw on the other videos how beautiful the nature trail was, and what we were trying to do can build a food forest plus an enchanted forest, and we were working on that, and they completely just messed up our project.
So you come in and fix, but you make it worse. People were supposed to come in to fix it and make it better, are making it worse. Messing up their land, messing up their plans, tearing stuff up. Making it worse for them, making it harder for them to reach their goal. In the name of fixing. So you know how they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, it's amazing that when we talk about the systematic issues, because this is a whole system fighting against two people. They don't want them there. In my opinion, that's the conclusion that I'm coming to, is they don't want them there. And so the whole government in that area, everybody who run things in that area, will be working together cohesively, but behind the scenes, to make sure that they make their lives a living hell, and that they give up and don't want to fight anymore and get up out of there and give up the land. Just from what I've seen, that's the conclusion that I'm coming to. I'm not saying anybody else is saying this. This is the conclusion that I'm coming to, that they're not wanted there, and everybody in that area who don't want them there are going to come together and do what they need to do to make sure that they can run them out. And even the officials are in on it.
And with no regard for anybody's property or animals. I mean, it was a bunch of stray dogs just running around trying to figure things out. The deer were running around. So I'm kind of like, it just was really, if it wasn't intentional, if it wasn't, hypothetically, it's just kind of like, you know what, we got a dispute with the fence from multiple people. They don't like the fact that we didn't ask them permission to put up a fence. And then the other side is kind of encroaching. It's no kind of, but they're encroaching on our property, right? So we sent a letter from the sheriff's department, to get the person finally served. And then also because we're constantly getting dogs from that side.
This is some of the land being burnt. That was burnt.
I don't know how far. I gotta go towards the front. I don't know where Dad is.
Okay, I'm walking on the first side of the property. This is a different area. And you can see how the fire is spreading. Yeah.
And you see whoever started the fire knew what they was doing, because these are areas with a whole bunch of dead leaves. And we know that dead leaf and that dead debris that helped that fire burn.
Yeah. Oh, man. So this is what we're dealing with now. And I bypass that area. It's how bad it is and burnt in the far area on the other side. Now it's slowly creeping on our side. And, we just put the fence up. This is a bad situation altogether. And it's heading in that direction. I hope the fire department will be able to handle this situation. Because once it get on this side right here, it's straight like wildfire. You guys, I don't think they was professional about burning. Well, I'm glad that we ain't got no house on the property.
Huh? What happened? Uh-huh.
Got a bad situation.
What happened?
This side of the property, and it's looking away on our side of the property.
Oh my gosh. I called the police, they're on their way. We have to get to the front. Oh my gosh.
They're just discovering more and more and more of their property just being burnt. They own a large farm, and a lot of their property
What the hell?
is being burnt.
Oh my God.
Look at all that smoke.
Look at it. Yeah, I see that.
They're trying to run them up out of there.
Look how sloppy this is.
Now listen to what she's gonna say now.
Oh, this is good. You're gonna have some beautiful soil. I was not looking to plant back here. This was supposed to be scenic, like Dad said, in an enchanted forest. And it's a mess.
But some people try to say that's a controlled burn, but
It's a mess.
it wasn't a controlled burn. It was a random. It was like a fire just set ablaze. It wasn't a controlled burn.
They left the tree here, knocked the trees down, left right in the
That was so crazy. A lot of people online said this was going to happen.
That's crazy right there. That would be said. The people online would tell her that her farm would be destroyed.
Oh. They just messed the place up, you know. You know, all this effort and time and work we did on this property, It's a shame.
He had absolutely no regard for human life, the life of animals. I told my dad, let's wait. Let's not put no structures on here yet. Let's see what the community is really about. Even if this is a so-called accident, which, you know, some of y'all don't think it is. Even if it was an accident, it's telling you that something's wrong. Because this is not normal. There was no containment of the fire. Y'all saw the first video. Absolutely no containment. So I'm glad we didn't have a house on here. I'm glad we didn't put our barn on here. And most of all, I'm glad our animals are not here yet. There's no positive spin to this.
That wasn't an accident. It was not controlled.
I'm definitely not happy at all. Dang.
So I went out last year and I actually learned how to do controlled fires. We went out into the wilderness, like this forestry preservation area here in Tallahassee, between Tallahassee and Thomasville, Georgia. It got big woods and stuff. And they took us out and showing us how to take care of the land, the animals and everything, and how they actually do controlled burnings. And so actually having done a controlled burning myself, and of course it wasn't a massive area, but having done a controlled burning myself, that's not a controlled burning. It's not, because a controlled burning is a designated area that's set to burn, and you enclose it from both sides. And the way you put the fire on the area, it won't just spread and spread. It will meet in the middle and then die out. So yeah.
All our camellias that we put down are gone.
Yeah. And this area here, we had all our different types of plants and our flowers. And we had this area, all this area here would look like a garden. Now, this whole area is all our plants are just burnt up, you know. And it was coming back for the spring season. Some of them was already here, and most, the majority of them was coming back from the spring. They just totally did a mess.
They didn't even care about their own property.
Yeah,
Look at what they did to their own property.
I mean, this don't make no sense.
There you have it, right? Tiffany's farm. So let me share my screen so you all can check out Tiffany's farm. Y'all can go support her and help her out. So this is her YouTube, Tiffany's farm. I'll make sure I put this link in the description. He said the neighbor is black, right? Our farm is on fire. This was one of the first videos that they're talking about the update. The sheriffs did the job for us. Trespassing, harassment, or stalking in rural Georgia. What would you do? Is this land stealing or a misunderstanding? Not for sale. You know, land buyers it's a lot that they're going through with the people in the area who are literally trying to keep them out of there. They don't want them there. So they're being harassed. So that's why they need our support. They need our support. So make sure y'all go support Tiffany, reach out to her, subscribe to her YouTube channel. She only have 30,000 subscribers. Let's run them subscribers up. Let's run them views up on these videos. She doing good on the views. Let's run these views up on the videos so they can get more money to help them with their farm. And then support the farm. Actually support the farm. So let's make sure we do that. But I want to make sure I bring this to you all's attention if you had not known. So 14 girls in the state of Florida drinking, driving, speeding at 116 miles an hour with no seatbelt on. Ended up in a one-car crash. All four were ejected from the car. 3 of the young ladies passed away. 1 young lady is fighting for her life. And then Tiffany and her father, they exist in Georgia. They live in Georgia. And it is Barnesville, Georgia, to be exact. They brought a farm, and they plan on growing and expanding their farm and you know, making their farm something beautiful for them. What they, like the father said, put his retirement money in that. And the people in the area are trying to ruin their farm, ruin their dream, and run them out. So these are things that are going on in the Black community. Negro news. And remember, if you don't like this video, then you ain't Black. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Just run these views up on the Shoulders of Giants. I appreciate everybody who is supporting me, supporting this channel, supporting Pat, supporting PC. And just know we got some more stuff in store in the future. So I'm going to keep giving it to you. I like recording. I like talking. So I'm going to keep giving this stuff to y'all. I love y'all. Catch y'all on the other side.